might look cold because there's a lot of snow, but it's actually really warm today. It's like 3 degrees and I'm happy I came outside because I've been in my room, stuck in my room, and I've decided that on Sundays I'm gonna start taking walks. So I just did the most like random thing, and I'm trying to stay in the sunlight, but I did the most, oh, why don't I switch seats? That's smart. Alright, that makes more sense instead of turning around. But yeah, I just did the most random thing, and I was initially gonna come to the park to just film this video because I thought it would be best to film it outside since I'm gonna be talking about patriotism. And I went and I bought a electric guitar. It's in this case. I've been wanting to start playing the guitar since September, and like I never went and bought the guitar. I was like watching tutorials of how to play guitar on YouTube, and I never like purchased the guitar. So today it was just super spontaneous. I wasn't even planning on doing that, but I went and I got the guitar from someone that I found on Facebook Marketplace. And I just need to get an amp because I got an electric guitar because that's the one that I want to learn how to play. So I just need to buy an amp and a guitar stand and we're good to go. So I'll probably start practicing tonight and I'm super excited. So yeah, the topic of today's video is going to be patriotism, and I'm going to try and figure out if I can literally just seat this. Let me get into this video because I feel like I just started this video and I'm just like rambling on. So I decided that I'm going to be talking about patriotism and kind of loving your country. This is a video that I wanted to film, that I actually filmed. I think I filmed it at the beginning of this whole whatever. I filmed it at the beginning, but I never wanted to post it because I felt like I was being ungrateful, because there's a lot of people that may want to come to Canada and they can't, which doesn't sound right because I feel like Canada lets everyone in. So if you can't get into Canada, then you're doing something wrong. But literally everyone can come here. But I feel like I was being kind of ungrateful because this is a country that a lot of people would wish to want to be in, and I was just taking it for granted. But I realized that I'm allowed to complain about my country because everything has their faults, and it's okay to complain, to want to make something better. But this isn't necessarily me complaining about my country. This is just me like talking about how I feel towards my country and the allegiance that I have towards Canada and like patriotism in itself. So I have my journal with me because I don't have a computer, and I took all my notes. So patriotism means vigorous support for one's country. So when we see the Americans, and I know Canadians and Americans, they like to compare themselves a lot. So whenever we see Americans, like we just see they have like this very strong allegiance to their country, and it's just super weird to me because the concept of country, nationality, ethnicity, race, all those concepts are constructs. So it's like it's something that we invent to divide ourselves. So the fact that people can like love their country so much is just so weird to me, because it's like it's not even real. Like country isn't real, borders are not real, so how do you like love your country, you know? That's why I didn't want to make this video like the first time I filmed it, is because it's like, how do you love your country? And I don't want people to think I'm like some kind of terrorist that hates my country, because I don't. But I'm just like, I never felt a connection to Canada, and there are a lot of reasons that I've never felt a connection to Canada, but I've just never felt connected to my country. I've never felt the need to like be like, oh, I'm super proud to be Canadian. The only time I would do that is when I'm like talking to an American and they're shitting on America. Then I'll be like, yeah, I'm Canadian, because like Canadians, we have this kind of sense of superiority when it comes to Americans, because we just assume that we're better, but we really are not better than Americans, because we're kind of the same, but we're just like, you're in the north. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of this weird thing that people like have love for their country. So in terms of patriotism, I would say for me, I've never felt patriotic. I've never felt a connection to Canada. I've never felt a connection to the province I live in, which is Quebec. And this is partly due because my parents are both of my parents are immigrants. So my mom is from Grenada and my dad is from Nigeria, and they both immigrated here at like young ages. So in my brain, when I was young, like even when I was in high school, I always thought that I had to immigrate somewhere else. I don't know, like, so I never formed a connection to my community. I never formed a connection to Canada or to my province because in my mind, I was like, since my parents came here to give me a better life, I need to go somewhere else to give my kids a better life. And I know it sounds so weird, but that's honestly the way that I thought. So I was like, okay, my parents came here, so I'm gonna like move to the States to give my parents to give my like future kids a better life or to give myself a better life. So it never like clicked in my head that like Canada is where I should feel like I belong. It's very weird, but that's the thought process that I had. So it never clicked in my brain like that this is somewhere that I should belong. Not to mention also the language here in the province that I live in, we are like main language is French. So like I speak French, but like even my French is not as good as it should be for how long I have been speaking French. I learned French in kindergarten, but like all my friends have been English. At my house, I speak English. The friends that I had at high school and primary school, they were always English, so I always spoke English, and I never really got as good as I should be in French. So that's another barrier that kind of prevented me from forming a kind of connection to my province. And the concept of forming a connection to your province is just super weird to me. And I don't know, I've just never felt like a connection to Canada, and it kind of sucks because a lot of people, I feel like they might love Canada, and a lot of people, and like even when you look at like the States, like when I go to New York, like my parents, we drive to New York, as soon as you like drive into the States, you're gonna see American flags everywhere. Like Americans, they really love America. And like here I feel like the type of identity that we have towards our country is a lot different than those in Americans. And maybe the reason I feel this disconnect is because I'm always comparing my experiences to American experiences, because Americans, they really just dominate the world. But even that, it's just like here it's more of like a multicultural place to live. So when you come here, you bring your culture with you, and you don't necessarily identify with Canada, because Canada, we don't even have like a core identity. Like we don't really have like a cultural identity that like pulls us all together, I find. But like in the States, it's like it's different the way that they see themselves and the way that us Canadians see ourselves. Like last night I was on a live stream with one of my favorite YouTubers, and like it was like a whole like 4 hours. It was so super fun. But Tiana and Paris, we were basically talking. Someone had asked me how to call how are black how are black people in Canada like called, like what do you refer yourself as. I have never called myself a black Canadian. So I know in the States like it's really African American, or it's like Asian American, or you know, you always have to include that American. But I've never in my life referred to myself as black Canadian. Like I've never done that. If someone asks me like my ethnic background, I'll literally just say I'm Nigerian, or I'm Grenadian, or I'll say I'm both, or I will say like I'm Canadian. Like I've never like said I'm black Canadian. So in that regards, you can see how different like Canadians and Americans are. So maybe that's another reason that it's so hard for me to connect to my country, because I'll never like refer to myself as like black Canadian, or I'll usually use my ethnic background to identify. So I don't know, like patriotism in itself is just so weird to me, because it's like these are like, this doesn't exist, you know, borders, it doesn't exist. So it's like, why the hell should I even love my country for what, when it doesn't even exist? And I don't know, like, how patriotic am I supposed to be? Like, how much am I supposed to love my country? Why should I love my country? Like, it's just so many questions, and I've just never felt a connection to Canada, and I've never felt like I don't even know, like in my city itself, I really, maybe because I'm such a homebody, I like barely go outside. So there's so many places in my city, or like cultural references, that I just don't understand, because I'm just not connected to the city as in itself. And like now I think I will move. I'm gonna move provinces when I can, when I'm done university. I'll probably move for university. I'll go to another province. I'm looking at Nova Scotia. For some reason, Nova Scotia has just excuse me. For some reason, Nova Scotia has just piqued my interest lately. It just looks so like pretty and cool and calm, and I'm kind of living for Nova Scotia. But I don't know, I'll probably end up moving somewhere. I wanted to go to the States for some time. Don't ask me why. Even if I moved to the States, I don't think I would have been patriotic either, because I honestly don't feel like I fit in anywhere, because it's so hard to fit in when your parents are like immigrants, and it's like you don't completely assimilate to either like cultural identity. So it's like I never fully assimilated to the Canadian way of living. I never fully assimilated to Canada, and I never fully assimilated to like my parents' background. Like I don't speak Yoruba, and it's something that really is, it sucks, and I'm gonna start learning now, but it's like I'm 18 and I'm learning Yoruba. Like I should know that. That's something that like should be my first language. So I remember when I was younger, my dad, he basically, I think he wanted to teach me, but he wanted to kind of introduce me to his like food, and I do eat Nigerian food now. Like there's no way I couldn't. Like it's bomb diggity. But like when I was younger, I would like look at him and he was like eating like, I don't know, egusi soup and pounded yam, and I was just like, what are you eating? Like, oh my god, that's so gross. Like, why are you eating that? Why are you eating with your hands? And it's like, you're like 4. Like, where did you get like this otherness? Like, how do you other your own culture at such a young age when you weren't even connected to Canadian culture? So it's just like who are you, sis? So today's a really pretty day. I'm gonna show you guys. So many questions of like cultural identity, ethnicity, like nationality, all these things that like kind of divide us. And it's like, how do you connect when you have so much other, I don't want to say baggage, but when you have like so many other ethnic backgrounds? Like, how do all of them like come together to like form one? Like, who are you? Like, how does it work? And it's like, I don't know, it's just like patriotism. Yeah. So another thing a lot of people question is like what it's like the black experience in Canada. I feel like a lot of people say we're as bad as Americans, and systematically we probably are, but from my experiences, I personally, so far in my 18 years of life, or maybe I just don't remember, I don't feel like that's a fucking lie. I was about to say I've never experienced racism. I wouldn't say no one has ever come up into my face and called me like a nigger. I don't know, like maybe in high school I experienced microaggressions, but I honestly don't remember it, so I don't think it left that much of an impact on me because I would have remembered. Actually, there's this only one microaggression. Why am I talking about microaggressions? Oh, because I'm talking about being black in Canada, that's why. But there was only one, like, I would say prejudiced incident, and it happened in the 7th grade, and it's stuck with me ever since. But I remember bringing a goosey and rice to school for lunch, and you guys, if you're Nigerian or if you guys have ever tried a goosey soup, you know it has a very like potent smell. You know, it's a strong smell. And I remember opening my container, like, you know, about to dive into this food, and then this girl had the audacity to say, what's that smell? If you know how attacked I felt, how my heart sunk into my stomach, and I was not a bad bitch in the 7th grade. I wasn't strong like I am now. Like back in the 7th grade, I actually gave a fuck about people and what people thought. Now I don't associate with people, and basically I like closed my container and I didn't eat my lunch that day. So that was nice. The bitch was starving because this white girl with no culture had the audacity to question my cultural identity and my food. So I starved for that. But I think that was the only like microaggression that I had on like an individual level. But in terms of like racism, I personally don't think I have experienced racism yet. Like I don't think I have. Maybe from like and I just said I went to like a private school, so you know. But the black experience in Canada from a systematic like standpoint is very similar to the American experience, and Canadians have this very superior, they have a superiority complex when it comes to Americans because they like to think that they're better than Americans, but in actuality we're kind of the same. We're just colder, and can you see colder? Canadians, we're generally not as patriotic as the States. Hi.
Vous avez la place.
Ah, pardon?
Vous l'avez la place. Vous avez une bonne place.
Merci. Me, I just compare my patriotic experience to how I see like how in love with their country Americans are, and I'm just like, am I supposed to love my country that much? Because I don't. Like, it's really not that deep. Like, I don't see it as such a big deal. But anyways, patriotism, super weird. So I hope this video made sense. Like, I feel like I was all over the place, but yeah, having multiple ethnic backgrounds and like in terms of that and like your national background, your nationality, it's just a weird it's a weird conundrum. It's just weird. I was like, how do you identify? How do you see? That's why like race and like ethnic backgrounds and nationality, that's where all this stuff is a problem, because it's like, what even is the definition of that? And also, how do you identify with that? And why do we have these things that separate us? So tell me what you guys think about patriotism, and if you guys like where you guys are from, and if you guys feel like a connection to your country, because personally I don't. I really don't. But I will, if you're American, I will tell you that I'm Canadian, just because we have a superiority complex. Peep how I said we? Only when it comes to that. Only when it comes to like saying we're better than Americans. That's the only time I will associate myself with saying that. But yeah. Anyways, I said a lot of things in this video. So yeah. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.